He's controversial and brutally honest. In this episode, I interview the broken Catholic Joseph Warren. We dive into his personal journey of entrepreneurship, how his podcast came about, and the truth about the coaching industry. He may say some things that some people may not want to hear, but he is speaking his truth. Get ready. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, where we are inspiring you to tap into your power to manifest the happiness, success, and fulfillment that you desire. I am your host, Niajae, the Upper Limit Coach. I am here to dismantle your limiting beliefs and remove the blocks so you can confidently live your life's purpose, because life is meant to be abundant. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? On this episode, I am joined by Joseph Warren, who is a spiritual coach, podcaster, and entrepreneur, and I'm really excited to dive into his story. But before we do, I want to ask you, what does abundance mean to you?
That's such an open-ended question. That's why you ask it, right?
Yes.
Like, who are you? Tell me, give me the core. Abundance means to me, there is more than enough resources, connections, energy, whatever you want to call it, for us to live our greatness.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and there's no excuses. That's the thing. There's no excuses when you're abundance mindset versus a poverty mindset. And I started as poverty, now I'm in abundance. Life's much better in the abundance realm, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I really want to dive into your story about shifting from that poverty mindset to an abundance mindset. But tell us about you. Tell us about everything that you do. Who is Joseph Warren?
That's all right. We'll get 2 for 2 broad questions here. Okay. Who is Joseph Warren? Joseph Warren is a broken Catholic and former atheist, and very self-centered, arrogant, driven type young man. And I went after pursuing the gods of money, power, success, pleasure, and I got them all. That was what was amazing. At 24 years old, I semi-retired after building a several million-dollar business. And well, when you put money and success and pleasure, meaning girls, in a young man's life, I made some really poor choices. And even though I had what everybody said would make me happy, what the world promises, oh, this is abundance, it was just stuff. And I was the most miserable, narcissistic, and just deeply depressed person you would ever meet, even though I had everything that guys wanted. And then I was almost murdered twice.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I lost it. I told you I have some street in me, right? So I lost everything. I went completely broke. I just wasted it all.
Wow.
And bottomed out, hit rock bottom, and then had to rebuild from there. So I've been on both sides of the fences.
Wow. So what was the turning point for you when you had all of the things, like the money and the cars and the women? Like, what was the turning point for you to say, okay, this is not fulfilling me? What made you change your life? I'd
like to say it was something I chose. It wasn't. I believe right now I'm more faith-based in my business, but back then I wasn't. I was completely godless, no spiritual life. Even though I was raised with a Judeo-Christian background, I completely abandoned it, and we'll probably get into why, and I know you want to chat about that. But when I left God, I left everything behind, and there was no pivotal moment of me choosing, oh, this is dissatisfying, because the lie, I didn't want to admit it was a lie once I got to the top. Nobody does. Like, if you spend half of your life pursuing wealth and pleasure, and then you get it, but it's dissatisfying, it's unfulfilling, you don't want to believe that's true. Because then your entire life was a lie, right? And you were wrong, and nobody wants to admit they're wrong, so I didn't. So what did I do? Well, let me go get more of it. Maybe then I'll be happy. And so I got more of it. Okay, let me go get more of it. Then I'll be happy. I still wasn't happy. So it was this constant chasing the wind, grabbing the wind, and never actually getting hold of anything that sustained me. So once I had lost everything, I believe God came in and took out the distraction and just ripped the carpet out from under me, and I bottomed out. So that was the pivotal point. When I crashed and burned, and you lose everything, your money, your fortune, and then all your friends abandon you because they really weren't your friends, they were friends with the money, and you have no one left, that is your turning point.
Yeah.
Now you decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to just stay down, or do you want to get up eventually?
So what would you say happiness means to you now that you've experienced all of that?
Now we're getting to some good questions. Right. All right, so what does happiness mean to me? Yeah, happiness to me is knowing that I am walking in the plan that I was created for. Whatever that looks like, right? And surrendered to that plan. And that's the key, and it's so difficult for an alpha type personality like myself to surrender. The most difficult thing I've ever done in my life is surrender constantly to a plan that's bigger than me. And let go of Joseph's plans and schemes, and really just listen, get quiet, and ask God, like, what is your plan? What is the next move that you want? Because here's what I've learned, is that no matter what I come up with, it never works anyway. It gets me to a certain level of worldly success, but then, like, I got to the top and I was empty. So what's the point of doing it on my own again? God's got something better. Let me pursue that. And now it's an adventure, like, because I never know what's coming.
So I call that purpose.
Yes.
Purpose. So for someone who doesn't know their purpose,
Sure.
how can they figure that out? Because I think a lot of people are searching, like, what is my purpose?
Yes, it's great, right? And I've lectured in all the colleges, teaching entrepreneurship to all the college students, how you start businesses, and that's the number one question. How do I find my purpose? Well, the first thing is stop searching in all the wrong places. And most of us search in the wrong places. I say it this way. If you read the self-help books, 99% of the self-help books out there tell you that if you want to find your purpose, look within yourself for the answers that you don't actually have to find your purpose and what you're predestined to do. Well, if you've ever done that and tried that, it doesn't actually work. You may get a layer deeper, but you never get to the purpose. And that's why, I mean, if self-help books worked and all these purpose books work, then why do the majority of humanity die with regret and never living their purpose? They're reading the books. The
But
books
are they
aren't
doing
working.
the work though?
Of course, some of them are.
Some of
A
them
percentage.
are.
I did, and I still, here's the thing, like, if I look within me for answers to why I was created, even though I wasn't there when I was created, and I have no idea what my future looks like or my purpose, but I'm asking myself, like, that makes no sense. So rather, what I've shifted to doing, and how I got my purpose, is I sat down with the creator of the universe, the one who created me, and I asked him, hey, you created me for something. I obviously am messing up half my life, right? So I'm gonna stop chasing my plans and schemes, and what do you want me to do? Why am I here? And this is where most people, I believe, don't ever go. They don't get quiet with the creator. They don't ask him, hey, what's my plan for, or what's your plan for my life? Because, and this may segue into the conversation you and I really want to have, because of something that happened in their childhood, some kind of brokenness, or the way that God, or the idea of God or a creator was presented to them by broken humans, called their parents or their priest or their pastor or somebody else who was broken and delivered it broken. So now their idea of God is broken, and their lens is broken. So they run away from God, and that's the last person they want to go to. So they're out searching in the world, but it never works. It doesn't work. You'll never find your purpose looking within yourself, asking yourself for answers that you don't actually have.
Such an interesting perspective. Such an interesting perspective. But you have a podcast.
Yes.
Broken Catholic.
Yes.
Well, I know. Well, you have two. So we know the first 100K, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So I want to focus on Broken Catholic first, because as we discussed, I think that guilt is a huge thing right now, a huge thing. And my experience with people in my life that are Catholic, they struggle with that. It's a huge thing. And, you know, I'm a huge energy person, and guilt and shame is a very low vibration.
Yes, it is.
So do you want to speak on that? Just.
I think you want me to. So yes, I would love to. Guilt and shame. I was raised Catholic. Family of 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls, and
that's a lot.
yes, and my father was Marine Corps. So when he came out of the war, out of Vietnam, he really wanted to do things right. He wanted to raise a family. He knew he was called to be a dad. That was his purpose, and he really wanted to get it right. Unfortunately, he took the Marine Corps drive, which is very excellence-driven, and then he doubled it or coupled it with Catholicism and the rigidity of some of the rules and regulations and all of that, and what he ended up creating was this standard of perfection that was unachievable. So I was raised in a very military, religious house, and we were like little soldiers who had to do everything perfect, and that's no discredit to my father. I love my father, right? We've worked through and we have an amazing relationship, but he did what he could with what he knew back then, and unfortunately, I say it's redundant. When you mix Marine Corps training and Catholicism, that's redundant. It's just too much, and what that does is it makes children bitter. Right, and the Bible speaks about that. A father, do not push your kids too much to where they become bitter towards God, towards you, towards right rules and discipline. And unfortunately, I was a product of that. So at 19 years old, I was like, I'm out. I'm done with this guilt, shame, condemnation. The God I was raised with was more the God of the Old Testament, the tyrant, right? The one with the heavy hand, and I had to perform well in order to be loved by him. And I know that it just hit all your listeners right there. Okay, it's a performance-based religion. Now Catholicism isn't, but the way it's delivered by a lot of broken people occurs that way, which is very unfortunate because that's not the faith or what the church teaches at all. But there's a heavy focus on that, and so we have 3 generations, I believe, of broken people that have raised broken children, that now have become broken adults, you and I, and here we are trying to find our way, and so many of us have turned our back on anything that resembles what we were raised with. Right? And the heaviness of religion and the heaviness of rules and discipline and God who's a tyrant. And I love to say it like this: it's really difficult to love a tyrant, isn't it? But then later on, fast forward, the reason why I've had my reversion back into faith, and now faith is, I speak about unapologetically, and I don't push it on people, but if you ask me who I am and what's going on in my life, I'm gonna tell you. And I'm gonna tell you what God is doing in my life, and how I finally found purpose for the first time because I sat down with the creator of the universe. And I've really had to just let go and surrender to the God of the New Testament. Love, mercy, compassion. And I don't think we speak about him enough. And he's not 2 separate gods, we just have seen 2 separate dimensions of him.
Yeah. So for someone that is in a space of trying to figure out what they believe in, because I think that, like, my experience is with Catholics, they make you feel bad about your desires, but when you suppress your desires, it's kind of dangerous, and like it could cause you to rebel.
Do you have an example of desires so that we both are talking about the same thing?
it doesn't have to be like sexual desires. I'm not referring to that.
Kind of need to know. Like, is it desire to eat chocolate or to go have an affair while you're married?
No,
like, which desire?
Not like that, but there's so many things, like making money or being wealthy with a gift. Like, there's a lot of people that feel like, well, I shouldn't make money because this is a gift, so I should give it away freely. But I don't think that God or whatever higher being you believe in wants you to not make money because you have this gift. Or, having a desire for someone romantically, not saying like married and having an affair, but just generally, like I actually dated a Catholic guy where at first he's like, oh, you're the woman of my dreams, and then his family is like, oh, but is she Catholic? Is she this? Is she that? And then like his whole demeanor changed towards me when like his family found out about us dating, and it was like, oh, well, you have to be Catholic, like, would you convert to Catholicism, like, all of this stuff, and I'm just like...
That's poor presentation.
It's so, and so now he feels bad about how he feels about me, and it's not okay, it's, like, forbidden. So just stuff like that, like, the guilt to live the life that you want to live, and feeling like it's not okay, that can cause a lot of inner turmoil.
You're 100% right. I'll share this story firsthand. I married a Southern Baptist, and unfortunately her family looked at Catholics that way. Oh, is he Southern Baptist? Oh, he's Catholic? What? They're not even Christian, right? That's how Southern Baptist, very small down here in the South, very small worldview of other faiths and religions, unfortunately. And I had no idea. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I see you as, you know, my Christian brothers and sisters. Like, what's the problem? But there wasn't that same invitation. And it was this divisive wall that I really had to speak to and lean into. And similar to that gentleman in your life, I had to go head to head, not with my family. My family welcomed her in. Her family was pushing me out. I was you. In that scenario, and I had to sit down and get very clear with them, and they're good, godly people, right? And we're now best of friends. It's awesome. However, we had to go through some ugly first, and it looked like conversations at the table with her entire family and raising volumes. And I said it this way. I was like, listen, let me ask you a question. Your faith and my faith both believe as the foundational truth that Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, the life, right? And there's one path, it's through him to heaven, yes? And yes, that's correct. Well, at least we think you do because our daughter says you do. And I was like, great, okay. So let's just say we both agree. I turn to them and I go, then what the F is the problem? If we have the foundation the same and it's all based on the same thing, what are you scared of? Seriously, what are you scared of? Because that's a lie, and it's from the enemy, and it's to keep us divided. Same thing with skin color, race, discrimination. It's all divisiveness comes from the enemy. That is not from God. Okay? So that's a clear conversation I love having and breaking through these walls. And when I ask them some questions about like how they view Catholics and oh, well, you guys believe this, you worship Mary, you know, like that is not what our faith teaches. Well, that's what we believe, right? And it's this generational ignorance that's been passed on and on and on, and it becomes their truth. And they're, you know, they'll fight for it. But when you ask them sharp questions about, well, let's get to the thing underneath the thing, and then just bring it out into the light, you know what happens? It's a house of cards. And the house of cards collapsed, and we found healing, and God healed, and there was tears shed, and then there was embrace, and they adopted me into their family as their son, and it was the enemy. So what I would say to that situation with that gentleman is it's up to both of us, right? It doesn't have to be a this or that. It doesn't have to be, is she the same faith? Well, if she's not, then she's out. No, it's what his parents could have done. I'm not saying they should have, but what they could have done is sat down with you and say, Niajae, we understand you have some different beliefs. We'd really like to get to know you, and what do you stand for? And then from there, build bridges, not walls. Okay, well, you said you stand for this. Well, in our faith tradition, we also stand for that. It looks like this. Is that something that's agreeable to you? Yeah, actually, we're both aligned. Great. What else? And you find those commonalities, and then there's workability. And workability is a beautiful place. That's where you can create together.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Abundance Box is more than a subscription box. It's a movement. Not only are you sent spiritual goodies to your doorstep, it's a commitment to yourself to not settle, to live to your full potential and manifest the life that you truly desire. For more information, go to abundancehack.com/box to receive crystals, sage, therapeutic grade essential oils, guided meditations, and access to the private Facebook group to connect with other awesome members of the Abundance Box tribe. Join the movement because life is meant to be abundant. So how did you transition from the Broken Catholic podcast to now your the first 100K podcast?
Sure. So it's not really a transition. It's both of them, this and that. And so I believe, right, I'm an entrepreneur, business. I've run multi-million-dollar companies, started, founded, all that. And then I've had many failures along the way. And one thing I've seen is that 90% of entrepreneurs are struggling to make their first $100,000. But they're pretending they're not. They're showing the highlights of their life on social media. They're showing that they're winning, right? And everybody's like, oh, wow, you're winning. Look at this. You got this, the car, all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're in debt. They're broke as a joke, and they're going home lonely, right, and depressed.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because they're wearing the mask of success, because they didn't do the effing work to get to success, right? So I really speak to that audience, and we take down those masks and we get real about it. And what's the mental game of entrepreneurship? And I bring faith into that conversation unapologetically, because I don't believe, and this was the lie that was sold to me, that I have to leave my faith and beliefs outside of my business life. So I go to church on Sunday, and the pastor says what he says, and I nod my head, yes, I believe that, I believe that. Then I go to work on Monday, and I have spiritual amnesia. And then it's crush them, kill them, get to the top, right? And all my compassion and Christ-likeness goes out the window, and it's just destroy and win, or very Grant Cardone, you know, also greed is good,
I've never heard him say that.
Oh, I did. I was at the
Greed
10X
is
conference.
good?
Oh, yeah.
I was at the 10X conference.
Oh, then you missed it. He had some saliva going, like, greed is good. I'm just messing. I like Grant, right? So, point being is, you don't have to separate the two. I believe that your faith and your work should be integrated.
Yes.
Not even balanced, integrated. They should be one and the same. When I'm doing my church life, I could be talking about business stuff. When I'm talking in my business life, I'm talking about God stuff and my beliefs. And it's just who I am. And if that works for you, great, we'll be friends, we'll do business together. If that doesn't work for you because you're threatened because of childhood trauma or whatever that you just haven't worked out yet, hey, I do spiritual coaching. I can help you with that. Okay.
So before I get into that podcast, because I was just a guest on that podcast, before I get into that, what are some beliefs that you had to overcome, or like negative pre-programming that you had to release?
In what regard?
Okay, so
the faith side or entrepreneurship?
A little bit of both, because like there's a few things that I've had to work through, like beliefs, like subconscious beliefs that I had to work through. One of my most recent ones is it's lonely at the top.
Yes.
So like that was something I had to work through, and loneliness isn't like subjective to just being at the top. Like you can be lonely in the middle, you can be lonely at the bottom. So really releasing that, and people say it all the time, it's a common phrase, it's lonely at the top. So we store that subconsciously. So working through releasing those subconscious blocks and negative pre-programming.
Yes, the biggest one I had to really do self-work on was around money. And my view of money, and this is going to touch a lot of people that were raised in a Judeo-Christian upbringing, is that we somehow as a child, and I'll just speak firsthand, as a young boy, when I heard the love of money is the root of all evil, that's what I heard, right? So I didn't know why, but every time I would build something to success, or right before I would break through, I would self-sabotage it. Unknowingly, subconsciously, and crash it and burn it. And why did I have this pattern? And I remember I didn't even know it was happening until my sister called it out, and she goes, Joseph, you have this interesting pattern of every time you're about to like rocket shit with something, you somehow jack it all up. Like you jack it up, not even the situation. I was like, what? No, I don't. Complete denial. It was a blind spot, something I didn't know. And until she showed it to me, and then I had a choice in the matter. And that's why I do spiritual coaching. I just help people bring their blind spots so that they can choose, well, that's not working for me. So that wasn't working for me. So I really looked in and said, where'd that come from? Why am I sabotaging? And it went back to that biblical verse, the root of money is the root of all evil. And I went back and reread that thing over and over and over again. And I went, oh, that's what I got wrong. The Bible doesn't say that. It says the love of money, or the obsession of money. When it becomes all-consuming, a god, an idol, you worship it above everything else, especially your God, then it's the root of all evil. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that, but I was doing that actually, right, in my earlier days. So then I said, wow, so it's not a this or that. It's not believe in God and live a good life, and be broke, or right, be wealthy and greed and power with no God whatsoever. It doesn't have to be that. It's actually this and that. And that changed everything for me. And then all of a sudden my finances started to grow, and my faith started to grow. So really that's the conversation or the narrative I'd like to create, is that you can grow your faith and your finances together.
So powerful. So powerful. I love it. Okay, so I was just a guest on your podcast, and it got a little controversial because you asked me how much money I made. And so just to give a little background, it's a pet peeve of mine for entrepreneurs, especially coaches, to talk about how much money they make. And mostly because a lot of them are lying.
Yes.
But also because it gives people, I want to say, false hope or the wrong impression.
Yes.
So there's one coach that did it in a way that I felt was very tasteful. And it was Stephanie Nikolic, and she says, I made $2.4 million in my business this year, but she broke down, this chunk went to my staff, this chunk went to Facebook advertising, this chunk went to this. So like if you say, oh, I just made $10,000 in my launch, but you spent $8,000 on advertising,
what's your net profit?
People don't understand that concept.
Correct.
And so I think that because we're all wearing these masks and we're all putting our best foot forward, people are looking at other people's lives, their mask of a life,
yes,
and they're feeling bad because I'm not making this or I'm not making that.
Yes.
And so for me personally, I'm like, I don't want to talk about how much money I make. I want people to see like, because my thing is like, okay, this person made all this money, but are they happy? That's
right.
Always my question. But are they happy?
I like that spiritual wealth, not just financial.
Yes. Ooh, I like that, spiritual wealth. I like that a lot. Because like I live in a building, there's a lot of entrepreneurs and
yes,
coaches in this building, and I see some, and I'm not calling anyone out, but they are miserable.
Room 14, 13.
I'm not calling anyone out, but I see people and they're hustling and they're grinding all the time, but it's like I never see them just chilling at the pool, like laughing, having a good time.
Yes.
And so to me, if I have to cut my income in half
yes,
to be happy, I'm willing to do that. And so I think why also I had like such a, it struck a nerve with me, but why I had such an issue with it is because a lot of people look at my life, because I do live in this beautiful place, and they think like, oh, she's putting her best foot forward to make her life look a certain way because she's trying to sell courses. And I think people have that impression of me, but I put a conscious effort every single day to make sure I'm enjoying my
yes,
life. And I talk a lot about this, and I actually said it recently, like, there was a point where I felt like I got so consumed in maintaining this life, I forgot to enjoy it.
Yes.
But I had to put myself in check, because we do get caught in that hamster wheel. And we're going, but we're spending so much time focused on how much money we're making, we're not
yes,
enjoying life. And once that time is gone, we can't get it back.
yes.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that?
Yes.
I think a lot of my clients that come to me for spiritual coaching, they don't realize it, but what they're doing, they're caught in that hamster wheel, like you said, of trying to look good or trying to avoid looking bad. It's both, right?
Yeah.
Or either or. And the people that truly win in life are the ones that really catch that blind spot that they're in, or someone else calls it out in them, and then they're coachable to listen and go and really see it and say, well, I don't want that. I want true happiness or true fulfillment or true joy. I want to be able to look at my kids, and spend hours with them, and like that's the win for my life, rather than like being the provider parent rather than the present parent in that scenario. And like stepping back and really just getting that, it's not, I lost my train of thought there. Look at that. I love it. And I love that, right? So like, this is the beautiful part, right? Right there is an example. I'm not trying to look good right now. And it's okay that I just lost my train of thought because I'm human just like you. And you lose your train of thought, right? But bringing it all back, once you get out of pretending, there is so much peace of mind when you get off the hamster wheel and just be. Just be. And some people look at me and, oh, well, just how do I just be? Like, what do I do? What are the steps? What are the 14 strategies to just be?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the opposite of just be, right? There are no strategies. Well, what do? Choose it. Choose what you actually want in your life. Well, how do I do that? Like, you could do it right now. Choose what you want. That sounds too easy. Most of the best things in life are really simple, right? When you think about God and faith, his laws and principles, they're really simple. We're just stubborn and egotistical. That's why we make it such a big deal. So I would just say to that, when you choose to take off the mask and choose to not participate in the game of losers, because it's a game of losers, and that's not to discredit anybody. I used to play in that game of losers. But it's losers because everyone's pretending they're someone they're not. Therefore, you're a loser right there. When you choose to step out on the narrow road and say, I'm gonna do me, whatever that looks like. And I'm gonna tell people, hey, I'm just starting out. I'm barely paying the bills, but man, I got hustle, I got drive. I'm gonna build this, here's my vision. I need help, can you help me? That's attractive to people. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. Okay, so for someone who wants to take the mask off, but they're afraid, because we live in a time right now where, you know, people buy followers because they want to make it look like they have a whole bunch of followers, and you know, they feel like they need all of the fancy things for people to want to buy their services or their product. So I feel like there needs to be enough people to stand up that says, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna be me, and the right people are gonna buy my stuff. Cause like, okay, I'll give you an example, and I'm being really honest with you guys. So I have an Instagram page for Niajae, and then I have an Instagram page for the new product that I am launching, Abundance Box. And there's a lot of services that you can either buy followers or buy like bot engagement and all this kind of stuff. So being fully transparent for my Niajae page, I did that. But what I realized is that's fake engagement, and it's not going to sell products. And so it's like, do you want to look good, or do you want to actually create a real life where you have, you know, super fans or true fans, and you know, because I'm reading all the books about like 1,000 true fans or whatever. But like, do you really want engagement and to make an impact, or do you want to make it look like you're making an impact? And so for my new page, I said I'm not doing any of the bot stuff. I'm not doing any of like all of the automated stuff. Like, I want to build true engagement.
Yes.
And I just launched, you know, this Instagram page a couple of weeks ago, but I only have a couple hundred followers, but they engage. And they're sending me messages, and they're like, yes, I love this, and this is me. Like, you know, that's so different than looking like you have 200,000 followers and like nobody gives a shit about what you're posting, you know? It's a different thing, but I can see where people look at it and be like, well, man, I only have 200 followers. And that transition of like taking the mask off can be really difficult sometimes.
It's very difficult, 100%. And I think your step one is exactly what you just said. Is choose what you want. Which of those two do you want? Do you want true success with people who are really engaged in your message, that are on the warpath with you, going towards the vision? Like, do you want that? We all want that. Secretly, we all want that. Or do you want it to look like you have that, but you actually don't, and you go home broken, alone, and miserable? Yeah. You get to choose that right here, right now. You can choose it as you're watching this video. You could say, you know what, Niajae, your video just inspired me. You know, I'm choosing right now. I don't want fake success anymore. I'm not gonna model everybody else. I don't want followers. Who the F wants followers? Like, followers, that's like weird. It's like people stalking you, like walking down a dark alley.
Some people want that because it's a validation. It, like they're receiving this like.
Yes, but that's ego-driven.
It's ego-driven.
It's ego-driven,
and it's
right?
empty at the end of the day.
So I'll tell you who I want. I don't want followers. I want people who want me to show them how to lead.
Yes.
Right? I want to duplicate myself in others. So if you're in the faith space, that would look like, do you want to, Jesus didn't go out and just make followers. What did he say? He said, go out and make disciples of all nations. Make other leaders just like you. I turn you 12 into leaders. Now you 12 go and duplicate yourself 10x, 100x, right? Create other leaders in the world, not followers. Followers are the sheeple. They're like, oh, what do I do next? Okay, I buy your product, but they actually don't go into their life and do the effing work.
Yep.
Is that who you want following you just because they pay some of your bills? Like, you get to choose that or don't. And that's totally fine. If you just want followers and you just want people to feed your ego, pumping up your tires, God bless you, man. But no offense, you're probably going to die with regret. And that sucks.
He said it, I didn't. No, I'm joking.
That was the path I was on. And that's why I could say it so just clearly to anyone is you get to choose. Right? And sometimes it's just somebody pointing that out for us. And where we didn't even know. We're like, I didn't even know I was on that path, or I didn't know I could choose. What do you mean I could do both? What do you mean I could bring faith into my business? That's allowed? Yes, it is. And it's actually more attractive for your business when people see you actually stand for something.
Yeah, I agree. And so when you made this change, I feel like your life is completely transformed.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Newly married.
Sold both my co-working businesses, got acquired. Newly married, right? Married the girl of my dreams, stopped all my girl problems that I used to have as a single bachelor. And I got to tell you, I'm truly joyful, not happy. Happy is from external to internal, right? Joy is from within. So I truly have joy. That doesn't mean everything's going perfect, right? But, newly married the girl of my dreams, and then God blessed us with wedding night. We just got pregnant. So I'm a father, in just a few months, which is what a blessing. And that's lighting up things in my heart that I thought were dead a long time ago. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the gift God gives you. And guys, my buddies are like, Joseph, what is going on in your life, dude? You sold both your businesses, you finally settled down, you married this gorgeous girl, now you're having a baby, you started a spiritual coaching business, you're headed to Greece now. What's going on? This was all within 4 months, right? And they're like, that's not normal. What's going on? I said, I finally aligned my will with God's will. For my life. I surrendered my plans and schemes to His plan. And the second I did it, God moves at a pace that's, you're barely catching up. The problem is we resist it at all costs.
Yes.
Even though behind accepting it is the very thing that's going to give us true fulfillment. The thing you were created for. But we won't go to Him. Because, broken whatever upbringing, broken religion and stuff. So I just encourage whoever's watching, whatever's going on in your life, wherever you're starting in your spiritual journey is totally fine. I coach atheists, I coach agnostics, I coach Protestants, I coach Catholics, and I accept them where they are. And sometimes I'll just have the conversation. They're like, well, I don't believe in God. They're like, great, that's awesome. They're shocked, like, that's okay? Of course that's okay. But then the next question is, would you like to? Would you like to believe that you're not just a random accident of, cosmic dust and soup, and that your life actually has a purpose, and that when you die, you're going to be more than worm food? Would you because that's a really depressing story. No offense to atheists, I used to be one, but atheists have really bad marketing. Like, think about that. Who wants that depressing ass story?
True.
Okay, I get to be right, God doesn't exist, but then I have nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want that? So, or do you want to believe that there is a God, you were created for a purpose, that there is a plan for your life, that you're not an accident, and that all you need to do is surrender and submit to Him and go and sit with Him in quiet. And I teach people how to do that. It's an actual discipline anyone can learn, and hear the quiet whisper of the Creator that created that entire universe speaking to you, one-on-one, intimate to you, your story, nobody else's, yours. He has one for you.
Yeah.
Why would you want to keep resisting that?
Yeah.
But you're free to.
So powerful. So I think a lot of it is semantics, because there's a lot of like people that believe more in like Buddhist, and they say like the universe. So it's still believing in a higher being.
Yes.
But semantics of like which God or what God or he, she, whatever. It's all semantics.
I think it's more than that.
I think ultimately we need something to believe in, because you said something about looking within, because that's something I say often. But I believe that when you look within, your higher being gives you the answers. So like meditation and praying to me are very similar. In my opinion, meditating is listening and praying is speaking.
Yes.
So that's how I break it down. So you're still listening from, but that's checking in. So when I say check in, it's removing the outside influences, because we're constantly comparing, and we're constantly focused on social norms and the American dream, and what our parents want for us, what our friends say we should want. And so checking in is, to me, getting rid of all of that outside noise.
Yes. Well said. And let me compliment that, because you're 100% right, in my opinion, right? So it's learning to quiet the noise, right, of the world, the distractions, what you should be doing, how you should look, right, how you should dress, all this stuff, and really just getting quiet to receive and tune in, right, to your higher power, the universe, God. However, for all my woo-woo people, okay, I love you. Listen, let's hang out. Let's drink. Let's smoke a cigar, right? My woo-woo crowd. But here's what's interesting. I've been to several conferences where the woo-woo coaches come up. They're like, wow, I love your message. I love this or whatever. And then I was like, and I asked them about them. And they got all the chakra beads on and all this stuff, right? Colors.
Can you see
Okay, this may sting a little, Niajae. All right. And I said, listen.
Don't offend my audience.
No, I would never. I would never offend.
I'm joking. No, I welcome all points of view.
Exactly, right? And listen, it's not offensive if it's not true. Okay? If it stings, then you may want to just sit with it. Why is it stinging? Right? It's just something to look at. So, like, I would just ask them, I was like, listen, what does that chakra do? And they're like, oh, this chakra is for whatever, this aura or something like that. I can't even keep up with the rainbows. It's like Skittles. A whole bag of Skittles just fell out on the table, right? And I'm like, okay, so that chakra does that. Oh, and then what does that one do? Oh, this one does this, and then this one does this. And I was like, let me ask you a question. Because I'm just a curious little dude, right? And I said, if that one worked, why do you need all the rest? And they're like, well, I mean, they all do different things. I'm like, yeah, but why do you need them all? What if you could just go to one chakra? I call him God. He's my chakra. He's got all the colors of the rainbow. He created the rainbow. He created the sky, the universe. What you call universe, many people are stopping before the finish line. And it's not that it's not truth. It is truth. Right? There is a higher power. God created the order in the universe, that energy that we feel, that we receive, the chakras and all this stuff, right? The stars and everything. All true. I'm not here to say they're not. I'd be an idiot to denounce science, right? It's not science or faith and belief in God. It's science and belief in God. They complement the two. They need to be married. Otherwise, we're being ignorant and divisive, right? So, all of those, the natural order of the universe, the beauty, all these things you're speaking of, I believe in, right? I just go one level above. Who created all that? And a lot of people don't want to go there. Because if I go there, then I have to look at my life and some of my choices. And then, well, wait a second. Well, if he actually exists, then maybe the Bible has some truth to it, and then, ooh, that's in conflict with how I'm choosing to live in one area of my life right now, and then I have to go change that, and we hate change as humans. So we go, you know what, it's better, it's safer to stop before the finish line, because it's very comfortable here in the universe of my higher power, my divine goddess, and all this stuff. And I look at some of my friends, because I'm friends, right? And I'm like, listen, if you're a divine goddess, you truly believe like you are divinity, like you are a god. Oh, absolutely, Joseph. And I was like, then do you like watching little kids suffer? And they're like, well, of course not. I was like, then please go end world hunger. Well, I can't. Why not? If you were God, you could. So if you're God, go do God things. And if you can't, because you're human and broken just like me, and we rely on a God, then maybe we want to get clear about that conversation. Or don't. And stay comfortable. But at the end of your life, I believe we all will be Christian. When we all take our last breath, boom, we're face to face with the complete truth. And all I gotta say is we better hope we were right. Because then it's too late. We no longer have free will at that point. What shows up for you in that? That was a whole lot of...
That was a lot, Eminem. So I would absolutely love to hear your feedback.
Yes.
You can comment on whatever platform you are listening on or watching. And if you would like, you can send an email to connect@abundancehack.com. So before you go, I want to end with this. 3 tips for living an abundant life.
100% what you said. Step 1, get quiet. Every morning, get quiet. Quiet down the noise and the distractions of life. It's overwhelming.
Yes.
Right? It leads to depression, anxiety. You know, our young people are killing themselves left and right. Suicide rates are epidemic, the highest in human history right now. Why? Why? Because we're living in a very godless society. We've rejected him from culture, school, prayer, everything. Why all of a sudden did human suffering increase? I don't know. It's a question to sit with. So that's the first thing, is get quiet. And you know, if you want to stop short of the finish line, you're totally fine to do so, right? That will still help, just doing quiet meditation. I agree 100%. It's good, right? You're opening yourself up to the laws of the universe. But if you want to go one step further and really get your purpose definitively, with certainty, so that you move like a sniper in your life, with power, with certainty, with conviction, then go to the one who created you. So that's the first one, is get quiet. The next one, for abundance in your life, is that what you said? Step 2, tell people where you're at, and invite them in to actually help you. Stop pretending you're doing better. Like, it's okay if you looked me in the eye and said, Joseph, I've been pretending, I don't want to anymore. Like, how did you do this? I want to do that. So many people don't ask for help because they're scared to take down the mask. So they continue to keep the mask up and suffer silently. Don't. Start taking down the mask, asking good people. Most people are good. I would say 95% of planet Earth are kind, good-hearted people. Ask people for help, invite them in, show them where you're at, but tell them where you want to go. Right? Don't just come in as a victim and be like, oh, this is where I'm at, can you just help me? No, this is where I'm at, but that's not where I'm staying. This is where I'm going. Can you help me, or give me a hand up, or make an introduction for me? That's attractive. So that's your step 2. Step 3 for abundance, spend time with the people that matter in your life. Like, really just be present in your life. So many of us spend the majority of our day either in the past, right? Dragging our past into our future, and completely skipping our present. The old hurts, the old wounds, the unforgiveness that you're holding on to. You're literally projecting into your future, not even your present, into your future. You're determining the rest of your life right now. Stop. You have no control over your past. You have no control over the future. The present, here and now, this moment. Just be present with people. I'm here present with Niajae and with you right now. 100%. I have a whole schedule of things that are not even on my mind right now. It's 100% here with people. Live in that moment.
Yeah.
Those are my 3.
So where can people find you?
You can find me at josephwarren.net. I offer spiritual coaching. So if you're a successful business owner, you're winning in business, you're making all the money, but you got to the top and you're like, is this all there is? I was there. I felt alone, broken. It's lonely at the top, what you were saying, right? I know the way out. If you want that way out, if you want the fulfillment, that higher purpose, and you're just missing it right now and you don't know what that blind spot is, I can help you with that. So go to josephwarren.net, schedule a spiritual clarity call with me, and we'll jump on and we'll do a video chat for 30 minutes, and we'll get clear on what is it that you actually want in your life right now. And then do we want to work together? And if we don't, totally fine. But if we do, get ready for your life to be transformed in a real way.
I like how you added that in. All right, M&Ms.
Isn't she awesome?
Thank you.
She's amazing, this girl. The way she just shows up, and don't you love her energy? Talking about energy, I just love it. I just want to hug the energy.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I love that you're very unfiltered, and you know, I love everything you're doing. So thank you so much for coming out.
I feel the same about you.
Thank you. All right, M&Ms, until next time, love and light.
Love and light.
Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.